Hi everyone, it's Janice Lawrence Clark. Now, in this very diverse group of students, we discussed many things that are on their minds. Their concerns range from the pink tax to workers, gender, religious, human rights, immigration policy changes, healthcare, and education accessibility for all, and in particular those who are other abled, and police discrimination, along with class and race inequality. Yes, these are some matters of their concern, which I hope would lead to them activating their voices and bringing about change and social justice. This week in Module 2, the students were introduced to the concept of being activated for social change as a crucial component to their social justice activation. This was done through a social change ecosystem created by sociologist Depa Iyer in her Solidarity Is in Building Movement project. Now, this framework outlines 10 roles of engagement to bring about social change, aimed at helping to locate one's natural inclination as a change agent by using innate gifts or skills in an area or areas that the students care about and think is unfair or unjust. They discussed which role description best described each of them and why. As they become more comfortable letting their voices be heard, we look forward to seeing our students committed to be activated for social change. Now, this week in Module 3, the students were encouraged to approach social justice activation without self-doubt and in the mindset of someone who can affect change in an area that they care about. They discussed how to be activated and began completing the social justice activation form, which they've been asked to share with at least one person. By completing this form, students are challenged to identify their role or roles as social change agents on the way to determining the first step towards activation. This week in Module 4, we reiterated the importance of being activated for social change by reminding students that there are things in their lives that they may notice, that they may consider as unfair, and that while it is personal, at the same time, it is also public, and that through their activation, change may benefit others. Students viewed a video of Rihanna in which she shared about the importance of being activated for social change, and they began completing the weekly activation form. Most importantly, though, students are beginning to hear each other's voices as they begin taking steps toward becoming social change agents, with the understanding that there is no right step because this is their own project and they get to decide the next best step as they become activated for social change. This week in Module 5, we focused on the tools of influence and how the youth, students, members of Generation Z, influenced others through their passion and activation for change by introducing some of the components that would help them in developing their own support system and generating followers as they act on their passion to bring about change. Students viewed videos that highlighted their peers in various formats of verbal activism, ranging from James Thompson in a TEDx forum to Naomi Wadler and Emma Gonzalez in mass gatherings, and Alexandria Villaseñor in the UN General Assembly, to the nonverbal activism, which ranged or featured tweets and blogs from several teenagers, ages 15 to 19, all passionate for the change that will bring about their vision of the future. These inspirational videos and tweets were shared to inspire and encourage students as they determine their personal level of influence as they set about completing this week's weekly activation form. This week in Module 6, we focused on being in action versus inaction, and students were reminded that in every situation in life, one is either moving towards something, being in action, or standing still, moving away from something, or being in a state of inaction. We shared tips that would alert one to know whether one is in action or in inaction mode. And these included having measurable goals, taking a leadership position on one's initiative, keeping one's word, creating a team, and asking for help. And as problems are solved, goals and tasks are updated towards accomplishment. Okay? In the move from inaction to action, students were reminded that everything they wanted for themselves in their lives was on the other side of action. And in this social justice activation class, they were given skills that they could apply as they take the next step, whether it be a term project to a home project. Everything begins with the first step. Now, this week, our final was the 7th module, final session of the Social Justice Activation class. A very special mention to Junior Ariel Heim, who activated her mental health project by creating the website myguidetofeelingbetter.com. She also activated an Instagram account called Guide to Feeling Better. Please support by following her and sharing. Now, students were given tips on how to create a successful presentation, a skill that they can apply in the future. And they were reminded that the principles and formats given throughout the program were such that could be applied to projects of all kinds while offering time management strategies, and that every step taken was an action. And by taking the next best step, they are indeed fulfilling their social justice work. Finally, students were reminded that a primary desired outcome of the social justice activation class is to bring awareness that they each have a voice and that they are empowered to use their voices to create the change in the world that they envision. Because after all, they are up next.
What might be the main thing that you think that they took away?
I guess I saw the material, some of the resources in terms of videos of other young people making statements. That's very engaging. That's good to know. I learned a lot about that. I even wanted to take those links. And I think making that available to them, whether or not they are involved at the moment, I think they can refer to that at a later time and it might catch hold of something. I think that's a very good thing to supply more of that, you know.
I agree totally. Yeah. I think those videos were had a great impact on the kids. I think watching other students, kids their age, in some cases younger kids, and what they've done was really impactful. I think that was really great. I think that helped to kind of illustrate for them that they can be, that they do have a voice, even if they're teenagers. That doesn't mean that they have to sit on the sidelines, that they do have a voice and that they can make change happen.
I thought, you know, I would sit there riveted watching this and I'm like, guys, this is, you can do this. Everybody can do this. You know, it's just, and I think it was, you know, Lawrence Clark made it very clear that, you know, these are just regular people. And that it just, all it takes is one step to activate and then go from there. And then by laying out the groundwork in terms of the documents and everything else, you know, it was there.
From my classes, there were kids who were, I know the kids who participated really enjoyed it. They liked Miss Lawrence Clark a lot. I think they got a lot out of it. Miss Lawrence Clark talked a lot about how this is empowering for them. This is about them as individuals. It shouldn't be a burden for them.
Everything that you're sharing is something that we can then take back, put into the curriculum so that it could be better and then more utilized. I think the coolest thing about being able to do it within the SAT prep classes is that we did get students that would not have ordinarily volunteered for an after-school curriculum, because as you can imagine, we do after school as well, but then you kind of get those type A personalities, the ones that were doing this since kindergarten, and it's more of the same. Whereas in the schools that were allowed to do it during periods like this, we get access to students that this is like the first time that they even thought that their voice mattered. And it's like so huge.
From my experience, and I've been doing this for a while, the kids that are the most gung-ho when they get to high school, what the most open to any ideas and the most willing to try new things are the freshmen. And I think, the seniors, the seniors and juniors are a little bit jaded, but I think if you get the freshmen, when they come in, they're in a new environment, they're excited, and this is an opportunity for them to just, to kind of build with that. And I would think, and I'll be honest, going through this, I would think that if I did this with some of my freshman classes, that, just judging on the responses and what I've gotten from them with our exchanges, I think it would have been probably, we would have had a lot more production. And I think it pulls back and you get to see, it pulls back layers and you get to see the real kid. And I think a lot of the freshmen that are coming in are a lot more activated than we think, and they're a lot more socially conscious than we give them credit for, even more so than the seniors and juniors.
Yeah, I totally agree with that assessment, Mr. Bernstein. I agree. I think the only issue is when during the school day, because the freshmen don't have an SAT prep type period that I know of. But yeah, that would be a really good group to be able to target for sure.
And so that's definitely a recommendation that I could make to the principal to see. And the benefit of that is part of the legacy of the program. Now these students then graduate to sophomores and then can maybe have more of a mentorship role for the incoming freshmen. Any last, final thoughts, anything like that?
It was fun. I mean, I enjoyed it from just me sitting there and watching it, because I don't really get to team teach that often, and I don't get to see other people work and how they work. So me just kind of being on the sidelines, although sometimes I did kind of get a little more involved, I enjoyed it in terms of that respect. I was able to see Lawrence Clark just do what she does and how she was able to engage and, her passion for the project. And, I really like that. That for me, I took that away from it.
Echoing what Mr. Bernstein said, I feel like I got a lot out of it too, working with Miss Lawrence Clark and hearing from the students, either, when they took themselves off mute or wrote in the chat, or when we did the breakout groups, hearing what they had to say and hearing about the issues that they feel passionate about. I did read the submissions that were in the Google Classroom from my students. And yeah, I mean, they absolutely are passionate about big issues in society, big major things. And most of them had really given a lot of thought to the issue. It wasn't just like a fleeting thing. A lot of them clearly had a lot of lasting passion for making change. And I felt very impressed with many of them.
I appreciated each one of you and how you helped to encourage the students as well. Thank you. And I really enjoyed this, and I hope to be able to do it with you again. Thank you.
Thank you.